Welcome to the Work Hard, Play Hard podcast. My name is Rob Murgatroyd, and I am a former doctor turned lifestyle entrepreneur. Each week, I interview some of the best minds on the planet on the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. Today's episode is a mini-sode that we call Fri-Date with the Wife. In these mini-sodes, my wife Kim and I deconstruct the strategies that we've developed over the last decade to not only grow personally, but to turn our struggles into lessons and create fulfillment in all areas of our lives. Excuses are over. It's time to live. Let's dig into today's topic. All right, before we jump into this episode, I want to invite you to be considered for my Work Hard, Play Hard Mastermind by completing an application at workhardplayhardmastermind.com. So this mastermind is not like any mastermind you may have been to or heard of, I promise you. This mastermind is for 6 to 7 figure entrepreneurs that are working too damn much and aren't taking the time to have amazing experiences around the world with an incredible tribe of people. So every 100 days or so, I drop you into new experiences that are specifically designed to elevate your thinking, to give you new ideas. Look, you get your best ideas not staring at a computer. And actually, this is the way high-level people really collaborate with each other. They do it over a glass of champagne, watching the sunset in the south of France. So if you are ready to do some fun stuff around the world and really, really want to level up your tribe in one shot, fill out an application at workhardplayhardmastermind.com. We'll jump on a call and we'll see if it's a good fit. All right, let's jump into today's episode. Kimberly Overwhelm Murgatroyd, how are you this morning?
Overwhelmed.
You're overwhelmed?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I'm whelmed with over.
You're whelmed with over. What are we talking about today? Hashtag overwhelm.
We are talking about how, I think right now we sort of many of us live in a culture of, look how busy I am. And you are I'm going to throw you under the table here for a second. You are a one-upper of overwhelm. Like if I say to you, I have a busy day, I literally can't get that out without you saying, well, you should see mine. Mm-hmm. Like I'll go, Rob, I have a lot going on today. Mm-hmm. I need to have some assistance. And you're immediate. It's not, great, tell me about it. What can I do? You're like, yeah, you should see my day every single time.
You should see my calendar.
Yeah. I do see your calendar. We share it.
Mm-hmm. We do share a calendar.
So, but the badge of honor of I'm busy, I'm overwhelmed, I'm crazy, like that has become a badge of honor. That's almost, to be honest, when someone abuses it, a little boy named Rob that cried wolf. To me, because you can't be overwhelmed in that insane every single day. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of this, it's like, do you think it's that is it, look how busy I am? Or is it the desire to be in a pressure cooker that people put themselves in? Like, where do you think this comes from?
Well, I think there are probably 2 areas. I think the first area is we have to acknowledge that we've done the overwhelm to ourselves. Nobody has a gun to your head saying book Zoom calls every hour on the hour.
Without a pee break.
Without a pee break. That's on you. That's your shit. The other thing is it's unnecessary and frankly ineffective for you to overschedule and not allow time for the magic to happen, as it were. So I think, I think the first thing is the person has to take responsibility for it themselves and decide what they want their days to look like. I'm going to be talking out of both sides of my mouth here because I am guilty of being this person. And at the same time, I am self-aware enough to know that I've put myself into that particular situation. So, when you've got big goals that you're working on, those goals very often require a multitude of steps in order to accomplish those goals. And very often those steps come together all at the same time. And when that happens, you're holding the focus on achieving the goal And that's where your head is. So you're just executing on all the things that need to be accomplished in order to complete that goal. And so I think what probably makes more sense when you're trying to address overwhelm is to sort of, and again, I'm talking out loud here, but I think probably the better way.
Do you ever talk into a microphone not out loud?
I'm externally processing the information. I think that it makes more sense perhaps for you to have, let's say, half the goals that you want to have and not all of them at the same time, because I think you can have anything you want. I think it's very difficult to have it all at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I think that we as entrepreneurs, and I'll put us all in the same, I'll paint us all with the same brushstroke, very often say, I want this, I want that, and I want this, and I want that. And so, for example, at the recording of this, we are on our way to Greece for a month and doing a mastermind. So we've got 25 people that are going to meet us. Even though the mastermind is well planned out in advance, we're now, executing the mastermind. We're no longer dreaming it. Now we're, taking that symphony and moving it into an actual performance. So there's a lot that happens, and there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, both with, people attending the mastermind with questions and changes, and with vendors Changes, and with my ideas, your ideas changes, et cetera. And then after that, we're going to, to Greece on our own. We're staying in Greece for another 3 weeks for our own vacation. And that requires a bit of planning as well. And we are announcing the next destination at the mastermind, which means that destination needs to be buttoned up and executed.
Not to mention, we're moving to Europe. We're closing down school. I have a business. You have a business. Not to mention, we're recording a podcast and everything else that's on our plate. And that's where the overwhelm comes from, right? But we did this to ourselves. When we decided to move to Italy, I knew that it would be a shit show and I would be overwhelmed this summer. I'm putting myself in there. And so here's the thing, right? We figured out we do this to ourselves. There's not a big bad virus called overwhelm that comes and attacks you one day. Yesterday, I was up at 4 a.m. to jump on a Zoom with Sophia's new school in Italy. Wow, Italy. In Italy. This morning, and for the next 6 days, basically, I'm up early and on a Zoom training my team, my network marketing team, for a big run we're about to do. And I literally do my last Zoom and then get on a plane. So it's we said yes to a lot of things, right? And we put ourselves in this position. But I think what the bigger conversation needs to be is, how can you, one, not make that your badge of honor? Stop making it your badge of honor. Two, identify in yourself that you did this to yourself. It didn't come and get you. But most importantly, three, how can you put buffers in there to reduce the feeling of overwhelm? So for me, this morning, one thing I know I have to do is I have to bring some marketing material to a spa that I just launched with our collagen product. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk to Kinko's and go pick it up. And then I'm going to take the 2-mile walk down the beach to the spa and enjoy, listen to an audiobook, get out into nature, move my body, have some alone time, and then on my way, drop it off, and then take that 2-mile walk back. So for me, I'm buffering in some personal time, some downtime, some self-care, whatever you want to call it, doing something I enjoy, getting out into nature, as well as getting the thing done, the task that I need to get done today. So putting in these buffers is really important. You, Rob, on your typical day, like Monday, Tuesday, you're back to back to back with coaching calls, interviews, whatever you're doing. You don't schedule in pee breaks at all. So or food breaks. So you're constantly running from one to the next. But then at 1, you're done your day. And you go work out, and you go to the beach, and you go for a bike ride, and you go do all the things you want to do. So you're building that time in on the backside. You're killing yourself in the morning, but you're building your time in on the backside. And I think what happens with people is they see their schedule they think it's more overwhelming probably than it is. And they don't build in self-care, if that's what you want to call it, moments within the day. And they end up, and I'm guilty of this, just being in a scroll hole. Like I can tell you how busy my day is, but then spend an hour lost in TikTok, And so obviously I'm not that overwhelmed if I can spend an hour on TikTok, but sometimes that's my entertainment. Like I did that yesterday. I literally sat on the couch for an hour and scrolled TikTok and laughed. And I wasn't working. I wasn't doing anything. I was taking that moment to just be entertained,
Yeah. So I think it just depends on how you want to set it up for yourself. So for example, if you want to have, an escape valve where you can most people are going to, Instagram or TikTok for a relief or a release to, get out of their day to day for just a minute and to laugh and to, change things. So I think the bigger issue here is in how you decide in advance that you want to hold this. So Kim, you and I have discussed this before, that I tend to be a stressed achiever.
Yeah.
And there's a belief that I have somewhere that in order for me to be successful, that I have to always be achieving and
stressed achieving, specifically.
And while achieving not from a place of allowing, but achieving from a place of stress. And it's easy when things are going great and easy, and there's lots of green lights. It's easy to just allow. But when things are like, oh shit, this thing that I thought was going to work out didn't work out, and I'm up against the gun because I have to make it work, that's where the work is. And that's where it's difficult to just say, we'll take it as it comes.
Yeah. Everything's always working out for you.
That's where the work is. And that's where it's really difficult. So I think the first thing is, number one, to know that you do it for yourself. Number two, to try not to fall into the stressed achiever category. And then number three, to step into the art of allowing and ask yourself, well, what may be trying to come through here that is even better? And you're just stressed because you have, a list of things that you want to execute and a list of an order of operations of how you see this goal being achieved. But instead of saying that this is the way it's going to be, ask yourself, well, what's trying to come through here?
This is where we have the tools, right, that we have learned about and developed and used for years. So what you just said is perfect. So let me give a real life example. So this morning, I wake up and I know I've told Rob for a week, I have a 7 a.m. class I'm teaching every morning for the next 6 days. So I wake up, I get ready to get on Zoom. Rob's on my Zoom because he booked a last minute appointment. So I kick Rob off my Zoom. Now he's stressed because he has a call he wants to do with somebody about up-leveling a portion of his mastermind, in a unique way. So, but he wants that call now. And so now he's stressed because he can't do the Zoom that he wants to do because I have the Zoom. And we can't be double talking. I can't have him, he's loud. He's New York, right? New York Italian. He's loud. I can't have him loud New York Italian yelling from the other room. And so I'm stressed. And so now it's 7 a.m. and we have this stressful situation. Then he goes from that to learning that the destination we wanted for the next mastermind isn't going to work out. We thought the thing was fully planned, locked and loaded, ready to go, and it's not going to work out. And so now he has a second level of stress. And so now the stress is compounding, right? But this is his comfort zone, unfortunately, because he likes to be a stressed achiever. That's where he's comfortable in that. But this is where the work is. Because the work to use the tools, you listen to all these podcasts, right? And you learn hopefully strategies and tools and read these books, whatever. And you learn these strategies and tools that sound great in theory. And you're like, wow, that was a mic drop, and you write it down and whatever. But you have to actually put it into action when the shit hits the fan. And so This morning, we're going back and forth on what are we going to do at this destination? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And we start doing different things. And once Rob got out of the stressed achiever mode and went into action, because going into action reduces that negative spiral of shit is hitting the fan. Going into the action is what creates momentum. He did a phone call, and now we have another idea where we could possibly blend it. And so if you had asked your question, what's trying to come through for me here? Everything's always working out. The next event that you're planning is probably going to be 10x what the original plan was, because something was guiding you and coming through here, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is we have other questions. What would it look like if this was fun? Right now, if planning this right now was fun, what could this look like? Where could we go with this? What if it was easy? What if it was elegant, right? You ask yourself these questions. What's trying to come through here? Reminding yourself everything's always working out for me. When I saw Rob looking like his head was going to explode, and by the way, compound stress, compound stress, compound stress. Then some bitch reaches out to him on Instagram on the wrong moment and says, you're really full of yourself. And so he had at it. He shows me the thread. He's like, let's do a FaceTime call right now. He's like, this is the wrong moment. So when he started showing me how he's going back and forth with some dumb bitch on Facebook, sorry, dumb bitch, but you're going to get that name today, because she felt like a troll. She doesn't even have a profile picture, but she felt the need to troll and reach out to him to say something. So you're going to get that title. But anyway, I digress. At that moment, when he shows me his Instagram, he's like, yeah, she picked reaching out on the wrong day. I looked at him, and what I say to you? I said, before you continue anything, I think you need to go meditate, because you need to bring yourself back into alignment, because nothing is going to work from a place of overwhelm, stressed, and now pissed off, right? Because that comment wouldn't have bothered you any other day of the week, but it's compounding. And so overwhelm and stress compounds if you don't do something to release it. Build in the brakes, have a meditation practice, ask yourself what's coming through here. This is your opportunity to use the tools that you're learning and accumulating in your real life.
Yeah, not only does it compound, it continues. And you're, just in the same way you have green lights and positive momentum, you start doing the opposite. You have red lights and negative momentum.
Because that's what your energy is putting out there.
Yeah, because it's the law of attraction, right? You just get more of what you're focusing on. So, this is one of these podcasts where I wish I had this great lesson that I can teach you.
I think you just did.
But I'm being honest with you that, I battle in between. I'll tell you, this is a great conversation, because I always try and look at what am I going to do next, and how am I going to, whatever the next goal is. And right now our next goal is to live in Italy. And we're going to have a significant time change there. So, when we wake up in the morning, it'll be East Coast, West Coast, afternoon and evening. So the mornings for us will no longer be, the shit show that they are now, because it's the opposite. We wake up in the morning and we're dealing with things, for our place in Italy, or our event in Greece, or the next event, out of the country. When we wake up, it's the end of their day. So we usually have an hour or two. So not only is it back-to-back client meetings, Zoom meetings, but it's also issues, with solving things. But in Italy, it's going to be different. So
because you're going to be in their time zones, you can talk anytime.
I'm going to be in their time zone. I can talk anytime, and it's going to it's going to be a welcome juggling of our schedule. Like for example, right now, this is really interesting as I'm thinking this through. Right now, you and I would not take, probably, COVID is maybe the exception to this rule, but you and I would not take the time to have a leisurely walk in the morning on a Monday and go out for coffee and, go plan our day, come back and work a few hours and then go to the gym. That wouldn't be the way we would do our day here, because it doesn't lend itself to time zone issues, certainly coaching client issues, et cetera. But in Italy, it's the exact opposite. And in Italy, we will have significant downtime in the morning, and then it gets busier as the day goes on. So one of the things, if I can't be trusted to have an easy day, it certainly works to be in an environment that there's no other choice, because you can't call somebody at 2:00 in the morning. That's not going to happen. So I think this next stage of our life is going to be even better for us when it comes to getting crafty and creative about the businesses that we want to run because of the time zone changes, et cetera. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the time zone, but I also think it's the environment. So,
it's both.
I told you a few months ago, I like you more in Italy because you don't walk around like twitching, because you have a list in your executing. Here, you and I wake up and the execution of what we're doing begins at 7 a.m. Whereas if we lived in Atlanta, it's like 9 or 10. We would begin our day later. Here, because East Coast is already 3 hours ahead, we're executing things at 7 a.m. and we're going consistently. And so it creates more stress. Conversely, we go to Italy, like you said, and the time zones shift, but it's more than that because it's the actual environment you're in. Here, when you walk outside, people are on their way to work, they're on their way to school, they're going. And there's very few people chilling, and having a coffee for an hour. When we're in Italy, there is the hustle and the bustle of the morning, but there's also this cafe culture where people come in and they have an espresso and they stand at the bar and they have conversation, and it's not like a drive-through at Starbucks, like they're actually engaged. And so there's a different type of environment. It feels different there. When you go to lunch, I was just talking about this the other day with someone, it's not unlikely that you're in Italy and even in a work day that you go for lunch and you might have a couple of hours, you have a glass of wine with your lunch. It's a leisurely experience. And here, most people are eating lunch at their desk, and so there's a different sort of culture that's compressing you into this overwhelmed situation. Like right now, if you go to a job, or maybe you're working from home and you sit down in your chair at 9 a.m. and your butt doesn't get up until 5 except to pee, and you're eating lunch at your desk while you're working, you're not creating an environment that's conducive to like good mental health, right? And good self-care. And you're probably in a state of overwhelm pretty consistently. But the culture of Italy builds in these buffers of connection and community before work, in the middle of work, after work with aperitivo. Like they build this in as a culture, the passeggiata, the walk through the neighborhood to chit chat and gossip. They build these things that we've learned in the blue zones are important to your longevity and your health, right? Community and connection and all of that. And we don't build that in here. I mean, there are days here I literally don't leave the house. And I don't even realize I'm not leaving the house because I'm doing things constantly and I'm moving and I'm going all day long. And then you come home and you're like, let's go out for dinner. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't even like left the house today. Like I didn't even see the sun. So I think that the environment can also dictate that. And then you dictate it for yourself as well. So I think there's both, right? I don't know. So I hope in this episode, what you gathered is if you are constantly sharing how busy you are or how overwhelmed you are or anxious or stressed, take a little inventory, do a little self-responsibility there and see if there are ways that you can buffer things. See if there are things that you can outsource. We outsource laundry because I don't want to do it. And so see if there are things you can outsource, take the inventory. And then when you do get into those moments of peak stress, true stress, not self-imposed necessarily, but true stress, use the tools you've learned, find out what's trying to come through for you. Ask yourself what it would look like if this were fun and easy and elegant. This is the moment to use the tools. And if you feel really overwhelmed, like you're going to lash out at the crazy people on Instagram that say mean things to you, put something in there grab some self-care, take a bath, do a meditation, go for a walk, recenter, realign yourself so you can be the best version of yourself. And that's what you put out into the world.
Yeah, I'll leave you with this. I think there's three things. One is, how are you going to approach this mentally in the way that Kim was just describing it? What would it look like if it was easy, fun, or elegant? Two, and then also saying what's trying to come through here. I think that's the mental piece. The magic piece is to make sure that you don't overschedule yourself and leave room for some magic to happen, because we all need a little magic in our life. And then finally, make sure that the environment that you live in, whether it's a time zone issue or a country issue, that you are in an environment, and it could be a rural versus city issue, it just depends, but make sure that the environment is one that won't trigger overwhelm to make it worse. And so, for example, we're fortunate enough to live here in sunny Southern California. So she's going to take a 2-mile walk each way. And this afternoon, I'm going to jump in the ocean and do some surfing. So that will help mitigate the stress. All right. That's it, everybody. From Overwhelm headquarters here in Hermosa Beach. Peace out, as the kids say, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye. All right, thanks for listening. If you love this episode and you know someone that needs some help in either stepping up their work hard game or their play hard game, it would mean the world to me if you shared this podcast with them to help me get this movement out there. So if you like what you heard, head on over to iTunes, take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, and I will be forever grateful. So until the next episode, excuses are over. It's time to live.